हेलो एवरीवन। जैसे आपको पता है कि हमने यूनिट नंबर 4 ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का यूनिट नंबर 4 प्रोजेक्ट फाइनेंसिंग स्टार्ट किया है। और लास्ट वीडियो में हमने जो उस यूनिट का जो पहला इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक था, दैट इज प्रोजेक्ट कॉस्ट एस्टिमेशन एंड वर्किंग कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट्स, वो हमने लास्ट वीडियो में डिस्कस किया है। अभी ये सेकंड वीडियो जो है इम्पोर्टेंट, ये वीडियो में हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं सेकंड इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक, दैट इज द सोर्सेज ऑफ फंड्स, which are the different sources of funds. So before discussing the sources of funds, what exactly mean by fund? The fund thing is referred to as the money which is required to start or run any business. कोई भी business चलाने के लिए जो पैसा लगता है, that is simply called as a fund. That funding for the project may be via single sources or through the multiple investor. The governance of the project will be varied to meet the needs of the investor in the project and the life cycle option too. It is a financially invested in an investment in the company for product development, manufacturing, expense, expansion, sales and marketing, office space and inventory. The many startups choose to not raise funding to the third parties, and they are funded by their founders to prevent the debits and equity dilution. However, the most startups do raise funding, especially as they grow larger and scale their operations. There are different types of funds for starting the project, for doing any business, for doing any activity. When we require funds, there are different sources of funds. Different types of funds are to be there. That funds are types are the government grant, fund by the partners, borrowed by money, investor funds, donation, crowdfunding, revenue fund, selling up, etc. Here we can classify the source of fund. The source of fund is referred to the origin of the particular funds or any other monetary instrument which are the subject of the transaction between financial institution and a customer. The classification of sources of funds are to be classified in terms of the different categories. The main source of funds are to be classified into three basic important points. That is on the basis of the period, on the basis of the ownership, and on the basis of the source generation. First of all, if you classify it on the basis of the period, it can be classified of the source of fund will be classified in terms of three parts. That is long term period, for the short term period, and for the medium term period. If you are differentiating on the basis of ownership, again the source of fund have the two types, that is owner fund and a borrowed fund. If we classify the source of fund on the basis of the source of generation, again there are two parts, that is internal sources as well as external. So these are the different sources of the fund classification that we have already discussed here. There is the objectives that can be we can on the basis of, if we classify it on the basis of the period, that is long term, medium and short term. So in the long term, the sources fulfill the financial requirements of the business period more than 5 years. Such a financing is generally required for the procurement of a fixed asset such as plant, equipment and machinery. If it goes in terms of the medium term sources, these are the sources where the funds are required for the period of more than 1 year, but less than 5 years. For short term sources, the funds which are required for the period not exceeding 1 year are called as a short term sources. If you classify it on the basis of the ownership in terms of the owner fund, the fund which are to be procured by the owner of business, and borrowed fund, the fund which is raised with the help of loans, borrowing something. And if you classify it on the basis of generation of funds, uh, that is internal sources as well as external. In terms of internal sources, these are the types of funds that generate inside the business, and in terms of external, these are the sources that lie outside an organization, such as supplier, leader, investor. So this is all about the funds, that is important of sources of funds. The next important topic that we will discuss in the next lecture, that is the capital budgeting. Thank you very much.